Hello, adventurers. My name is Maximus, and I am joined by Moobs Like Jagger from the GG and crew.
Hello, Moops.
And we are here for the third installment of Castles and Cantrips, Tome of Knowledge. I made sure to say it correctly that time. It's not tomb, it's tome.
You
On
let off
this,
with it, so it worked.
what's that?
You let off with it, so it worked.
Yeah. If you were unaware, I hit a wrong button, but that's okay. If you're unaware, if you're unaware, we're also on YouTube, and I would like to ask you that if you are you're not watching on YouTube or you're not subbed over there, please do, because I just realized we're close to a milestone for our
Ooh.
channel. You cannot get monetized on YouTube until you have 1,000 subscribers, and we're at 906, so we're very relatively close. So if you haven't, please do subscribe over there. We have a lot of content over there that is not here all the time. Great, good job, Max. Keep it up, buddy.
Yeah, castersandcantrips.com for all your casters and cantrips needs.
Yes, where you can go visit our Patreon, and you can get early access to things and help me create an NPC at one of the tiers. You can also find some merch, as well as some other fun things. You can also join our Discord, where there's a very heated discussion relating to what we're about to talk about tonight. Without any
There
further
are
ado,
lots of feelings, yes.
there's a lot of feelings, and I think y'all are gonna be angry at me. But that's okay. But if you are unaware and you didn't read the title of this is we're going to be talking about the new 1D&D Unearthed Arcana that dropped a couple days ago regarding the Druid and Paladin changes to the new 1D&D universe, or their new game coming out. And so we've got a couple big blocks. We got the Druid block, we got the Paladin block, and then I think we have the rest of the other stuff block. Now, I would like to propose that we talk about the other stuff block first. And here's
Okay.
why. Because I
Yeah,
think
tell
if
me
we
why.
start on Druid and Paladin, that's all we'll get through. Is probably that one single class, whatever we start on. And I think that there's some really cool stuff that people are not seeing in the other pages because they're blinded by anger and vitriol.
Yeah, because I feel like this cast we can just talk about the druid for the entire
Yeah.
segment and just not, and then just talk about paladin next week. But there's
Maybe.
there's so much to talk about.
So I want to get into some stuff. If you're
Okay,
okay, I have a bunch
I'm
of
fine.
notes. I have tons of
We
notes
can
on this.
do the other stuff first,
Yeah,
and
and then
then
we'll
and
see.
then and then we can see foam at the mouth later.
Okay, yeah. So there's a couple of changes that I wanted to talk about. Here you go. You should just ask me. Thank you, bud. There's a couple of changes that I didn't see, or that I guess I did see, but I wanted to talk about. And one of the first things, and I didn't really notice this in some of the other changes, and this might have been in the other UAs,
Mhm.
but now that every class is a prepared caster, you can obviously prepare spells during your long rests and such. But did you
Yes.
know you can also prepare different cantrips? Because they are 0 level spells now. They're not cantrips. So the way that it reads to me is that now you can change cantrips between your long rests, which I really like. 100%. I love it.
I'm on board because people usually just pick the same like top 3 cantrips
Yes.
and kind of forego basically all of them except for like the main ones. And
Yeah.
I think this is super cool because if you're planning a different type of session, right? Like
Hmm.
they can change their cantrips to help benefit. Like if they're doing a stealth mission, or an infiltration mission, they can totally change their cantrips to benefit whatever the situation is.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Those are my thoughts on that, because most of the time there are a lot of cantrips that just don't ever see the light of day, and they're never going to get picked because once you pick a cantrip, that's it. But now that you can change them out on a long rest, I really like that, because you can try things out. You can figure out what you like and what you don't like, and you can do things situationally. Now there aren't like a ton of cantrips in this UA, but once they kind of expand on that, it'll be really cool. Another thing that I saw, and I'm going to talk about spells. Um, when it comes to spells, there's some changes. It's going to allude to some of the things we're going to talk about later. But if you haven't seen the Find Familiar spell, I very much like the direction that they're going with some of these changes, and this kind of alludes to them or some of the other stuff uh, involving the classes. But my control F is just failing me today. I had
But
notes, I had all
if
these
you
things,
want,
but that's okay. I got
this
the page
is
number.
this spell description
Mhm,
is really, really long. It's like really in depth. There's like a lot more to
mhm,
it than it was in the current edition right now. Because Laura, we'll start off. So it's the casting time takes an hour.
normal.
They're at 10 feet range, same stuff. But you gain the service of an otherworldly spirit, which
Mhm.
manifests as a little animal in an unoccupied space of your choice within range. This creature uses the otherworldly familiar stat block. If you have
Yes.
already have a familiar, from this spell, that familiar transform into a new one, but retains its memories, which is kind of cool for flavor. You don't get a
Mhm,
second familiar.
mhm,
Whenever you cast a spell, choose the familiar's type, celestial, fey, or fiend, which is
mhm.
same.
Yeah,
Also
yeah.
choose an environment, air, land, water. That familiar resembles a tiny animal of your choice, such as an owl, cat, frog, whatever it is. Both creatures, both choices, creature type and environment, determine certain traits in the stat block, which means that like, oh, they're going to elaborate more.
Yes. Thank you for the 33 Runs Village. I appreciate that for
Hey,
the
hi.
resub on Twitch.
Oh yeah,
One thing I
Zeus
wanted to
Village. We should
yeah,
say
did
hi to
Zeus
our
as well?
friends. Yeah, Bun.
Hello, y'all. Welcome to the
Sorry,
stream.
we're trying to be more like more casual. We're not, we're
Mhm.
not all business.
This is very businesslike because I love this spell though. Now,
Okay.
keep the
All right.
next point. Combat. So normally familiars cannot assist you in combat unless you are a specific type of warlock, right? But look at this. Look at this. This is what I love. So of course it shares your initiative count, takes its turn immediately after you. It obeys your commands, no action required by you. The familiar can't attack unless you use your reaction on its turn to command it to do so. I absolutely love that. I think that is amazing and it adds some really cool stuff to familiars because I don't know. I think it's fun you can use them in combat now. It's kind of a very different shift in what I think familiars were. And
So
I'm here for it.
I
And
I know what you're saying, but
mhm,
my issue is that it requires your reaction
yes.
to attack. There's
Mhm.
already enough action economy going on and too many things to remember that you forcing you to waste your reaction to make your familiar attack. I'm I'm on the fence. I don't know if you can explain it to me in a
Mhm.
way that will turn me, but currently I don't like it.
It it makes you make decisions with reactions because normally a spellcaster, what are they going to do with their reaction? Absorb
Cast shield.
elements, shield, counterspell. Gives them another little tool in the tool bag, in that your familiar still acts like a familiar and does familiar things, but you can use your reaction if you want to have like a different flavor of what your familiar does for you, like in battle specifically. And the reason why I like this is the familiar now looks like some of those summon spells in Tasha's, where if you choose land, air, or water, they can get a climb speed, they can get a fly speed, they can get a swim speed. Their AC scales um, off your spell level now. That's insane. The AC it will scale off of your spell level. Um, you get like different things based on what you choose. Um, but their melee attacks also scale off your spell level, which is great. I think that's fantastic, and I think it's cool to add that sort of versatility and that you can make whatever familiar you want. You have these options that it can get and these little things that it can do based on what type it is. I like that. I wish there were some more options, but as you already mentioned, the spell's kind of long anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but I really do like that. And what's great is that it leads into like the next spell on the list is Find Steed, which does, surprise, the same thing. does the exact same thing. Um, and it specifically calls out that it is a controlled mount. If you want to read the mount rules, you can. That makes a difference. But you can choose with your steed whether it's Fey or Fiend or Celestial, and they get different little abilities for that. Like Celestial healing touch. Your steed can touch another creature and heal it. Like that's crazy. That's awesome. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you can live the unicorn dream, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and your steed has something called Life Bond, where if you regain hit points, your steed will regain hit points too. That's cool. Um,
I think the phase steed is pretty rad because
yeah, and they
you can
recharge on long rests. Yeah, go ahead with
you
that.
can misty step for 60 feet with you on it, right? So
Hmm.
that's like no one's getting away. Like you misty step for 60 feet, and then your steed speed just zooms through. Like if you're trying to run away or chase someone down, it's pretty awesome.
Hmm. You see the hit points of this of your steed increase based on spell level as well. The armor class increases based on spell level. It's great. I love those changes, and I love these sort of Tasha esque little packages that they're putting them in.
Oh, there if you want a beefier familiar or beefier steed, you need to cast a spell at a higher level.
Yes. Hmm. Which I think is really interesting is if you want to play that type of player where your familiar or your steed is integral to you in combat, you can spend the resources and make them more valuable.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to read and get into, especially like determining the terrain type. Like land gets, more
Yeah.
AC, and then water is amphibious, and but it doesn't get the bonus. There's a lot of crunch going on
Yeah.
when you're summoning things. But I guess because you have to cast these spells multiple times, you can change it up for whatever the situation.
Yeah, and I think with the problem with some of these UAs is they're just in a PDF document that those actual creature stat blocks are going to be in their own different color and they're going to be self-contained and they're going to have
Yeah.
their own thing. And then more often than not, if I like casted it a whole bunch and I'd make an image of just that stat block and keep it handy. Since I knew I didn't want all the necessary unnecessary other like flavor and stuff in it. I just knew what my familiar was. Like that's cool. I really like that. What else is there? So this is another little bit of a teaser of some other stuff, but some of the smite spells are very interesting. Which of course you can now use with any weapon or unarmed. That's
Mhm.
huge. Another thing is that it is a bonus action spell that you take immediately after you hit a creature. So you don't cast it with a bonus action and hold on to it. You just cast it after you hit something. Makes them a little more versatile.
Yeah.
Because I know it always felt bad when I was an artificer and I'd try to do like searing smite and I'd cast it and I'd miss and I'm just like holding on to the spell, like concentrating until I hit next time or something along those lines. I like this better because it's more in line with what a paladin smite is. And with these smite spells, I am assuming that there are many other classes that might be able to get access to these than just a paladin. So I like
Yeah, I
those.
don't know what feat they have in mind, but because these classes are kind of being grouped up now in
Hmm.
categories, so yeah, maybe like clerics might get access to whatever, depending on if like they have a new subclass or something.
Yeah, I probably do because I know that a lot of the smites have the divine tag on them, which is interesting because that kind of leaves warlocks out unless you specifically call into that.
Hmm.
I thought
Yeah,
one was fun that I saw was the there's one called Glimmering Smite, which is like a fairy fire almost, which is pretty cool.
yeah,
Was
you do 2 6 radiant damage, and if they have invisible condition, the condition ends. In addition, they glow like normal. So,
mhm.
getting paladins fairy fires is super strong in my opinion.
Yeah, but also clerics, not just paladins.
It's true. It's divine. It's
It's
not.
divine.
It's a divine spell.
Mhm. So that could be any number of different classes or subclasses because I'm assuming that these sort of niche subclasses might get access to spells from other lists as they sort of like blur those lines between the different spell types.
Make a lot of reference to multi-classing as well, so that's probably in that kind of what they're planning for when people decide to multi-class into a divine class or whatever.
Mhm. Maybe, yeah. Here's a question from Zeus. So the smite spells are range, self, but also concentration. Does that mean that after you hit and activate, then they can continue delivering damage on subsequent hits? It's not clear how to read them. I know the easy one is for banishing smite, right? Because it makes sense. You got to hold on to it. Um, blinding smite is not concentration. I don't believe.
And
I'm
yeah,
like skimming through these.
thunderous smite is instantaneous. So
Hmm.
what I think they are trying to say is that glimmering smite, the effect of
Yes,
basically fairy fire is a concentration spell. Uh,
the
or you could smell
concentration
fairy
smell.
fire. I don't smells like potpourri. I don't know. Yeah, so you have to maintain that concentration to keep that the effect on the target. So that's why it's a concentration. That's what I think they're trying to say.
Yeah, because I noticed Glimmering Smite has that duration. Searing Smite has the duration because the start of yeah, because subsequently you have to hold on to concentration to do the extra fire damage for Searing Smite. Same thing for I think those are the main two that I saw that have that. Yeah, because Blinding Smite just duration. Banishing Smite, oh, it also just has a duration, but it has special rules in it.
Yeah, and then thunderous, staggering, those are instantaneous. So yeah, so there's just an effect that unless you know or played enough D&D, that's I'm sure that's what they're inferring.
Yeah, Staggering Smite doesn't have that concentration thing on it either. It's got that instantaneous as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm. Yeah, that's super great that you can hit first and decide to use instead of a normal smite, you can use like these specialty smites.
I think they're super cool. Those are the main things that I saw on like some of the new spells, other than like Spare the Dying, but that's because they changed the dying condition um as well, which is kind of weird to be honest. Like like nothing actually changes when you're stabilized other than you have 1 HP, but you're still down until somebody heals you. It's kind of a weird like convoluted area. Like all the rules seem to me to be the exact same. They're just spelled out in bullet points.
Uh-huh.
But once you succeed, you're in this like weird state of you have 1 hit point, you're still unconscious, and you start a short rest. And you remain unconscious until you regain any hit points or until another creature uses a medicine check. So really the only thing that changes is once you're stabilized, you just have 1 HP instead of 0 HP. I'm wondering if that's something that will matter when more rules release.
Yeah, like does that mean you're free to act and you're no longer knocked out
You're
and you can start
unconscious,
doing things?
so you can't.
No, but if you're being healed to 1 hit point from Spare the Dying.
Yeah, let me look at Spare the Dying again because I scrolled too far away. Oh, yeah, you're right. You touch a creature that is dying,
Uh-huh.
that has the dying condition, the creature regains 1 hit point.
So I think
Hmm.
that's good because normally you just stabilize someone and they don't heal. They're just stabilized.
So, okay. So now my question is the dying condition. If you give someone 1 HP, they're up, right? The only
Yeah.
time they're in that pseudo state is if they get the 3 successes. So Spare the Dying is like you get up immediately with a
Yeah.
cantrip.
So that's
Interesting.
freaking awesome.
Interesting.
That that would have been a game changer for campaign 1 because Ron had the
Yeah.
spellcaster to learn so I can learn cleric spells for cantrip spells.
Hmm. Just saying, Spare the Dying does restore you up. What the dying condition does that sucks is it makes rolling a 20 terrible because now they can't cast Spare the Dying on you to get you conscious. But if you roll a 20, you're already. Oh, I see what you mean. I think
Let's
no, because rolling a 20 regains you to 1 hit point. It doesn't say you succeed. Rolling a 20 says you regain 1 hit point.
You gain 1 hit point, yeah.
So it's the
And
same as Fear the Dying. The only time it has that weird middle state is if you have 3 successes. So rolling a 20 doesn't count as successes, it means you're up.
so if we read this as 3 successes, on your 3rd
Mhm.
success, you regain 1 hit point. The condition ends on you as normal, but you are still unconscious and start a short rest. You just immediately start a short rest
Yeah.
when you're in combat. You
Yeah.
remain unconscious until you regain any hit points or until after a creature uses an action to administer first aid on you, which requires
Mhm.
a medicine check. So that there makes it really confusing, right? Because on a 3rd
Yeah.
success, you get 1 hit point, but you're still unconscious. But then
Yeah.
Spare the Dying says they just get 1 hit point. So is it using the spell meaning they're up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the
I
only
will agree to
time
that.
that you have 1 hit point, but you're still unconscious is if you get 3 successes.
Yeah.
So Spare the Dying, 1 HP, you're up. Rolling a nat 20, 1 HP, you're still up. 3 successes, you're no longer dying. You have 1 HP. The only thing that's different is saying you have 1 HP. That's what
Yeah.
makes it different. And I don't know why that change is important there. Um, I don't know unless something else has to do with having 0 HP. I have no idea why, but that's literally the only change that I can see in that like your stable quote.
Yeah.
But I guess
I
that means that adds more utility to a medicine check.
It does.
Because if someone is I'm gonna call it stable. It's not what it's called. It's just for me to wander through this. If you're stable, if you have 3 successes, it says that you remain unconscious unless another creature uses an action to administer first aid. So if you are stable and someone does a medicine check on you, then you can get up. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. If you and I
Mhm.
agree, it has to be right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. So spare the dying. To your point, spare the dying says you touch a creature that has the dying condition. The creature
Yeah,
regains 1 hit point. So dying is a condition. That's what all this talk about is. So it's kind of what you were saying anyway. That spare the dying only targets creatures with a dying condition.
I see they
So
still have the rule if you roll a 1, it's a double neg.
yeah, I don't like that. I
Yeah,
won't
not a
use
fan.
that. I won't use it. But it's interesting. It gives more utility to medicine checks. But then you have to know when to. I wonder if medicine checks do something different now. I wonder, and I don't know if they've
Let's
covered this or not. And I haven't seen this because right now it's
let's
saying
take
your
a look.
medicine check can make someone conscious if they're stable. What does a medicine check do now? Because a medicine check effectively did the same thing 3 successes do now, but I don't know if that's made it into a UA or not.
Yeah. It might have been wise to study the old stuff before we got to the new stuff, but
I've read it, but there's so much to digest in so many
there's a lot.
PDFs and so many things change. So that's what's I'm trying to focus on this PDF because things that I talk about in previous ones might be
Yeah,
different.
don't apply or changed.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing that I like now are about rests. Long and short rests had some changes.
mhm.
Um and the reason why I like it is it specifically talks about when rests are interrupted because people would used to try and cast a spell on hour 7.5 to get it for free and then get it to come back type of stuff.
Yeah.
So interrupting rests. If you roll initiative, your rest is over. um, and it says the rest is at least an hour long, you can have a short rest. But if you roll initiative, your rest is over. If you cast a spell other than a 0 level, it's over. You take any damage, you're over. And if you do an hour of walking or other physical exertion, it's over. I I like that because you kind of avoid some of that cheese type stuff.
Does
And it's
it
very
really?
explicit.
Because they're like, "Oh, before we rest, I'm gonna cast this." Right? But many spells last longer than 8 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, the trick was people would cast it on like 7 hour, 59 minute before the rest is over, and then cast a spell and then get it back for the next day.
I've never played with anyone that does that, so that's news to me. So, I guess
Yeah.
my circle is pretty tight.
Yeah, I've seen people try to do like, well, I'm going to cast Mage Armor at 7 hour 59 and then get the
Yeah.
spell slot immediately back. So you have Mage Armor for free for the whole day. That kind of stuff. Can players choose not to roll initiative, or can a DM basically have monsters pretend to attack, roll initiative, then run away after interrupting your rest? Can players choose not to roll initiative? I'm going to say no, because your DM's the one who calls for you to roll initiative. It's something
Yeah.
it's a directive. It's not a do you want to or not. Um, could a DM have monsters pretend to attack, roll initiative, and then run away? So I would say if it were me, now we're in DM land, I say roll initiative. You have your order. If the monsters want to run away, they can, but you all are still in initiative and you can still fight them. So I don't know. That seems like a person problem more than anything, because that's something that you could technically do now if you like if you wanted, but I don't know. But I do like that there's explicit rules for interrupting rests.
Well, let's take a look at the hide action since you said
Yeah,
it's a little wonky now.
I don't
Uh,
mind it. I'm gonna say I don't mind it, but go
well,
ahead.
with the hide action, you try to conceal yourself. To
Hmm.
do so stealthily, you must succeed a DC 15 stealth check while you are wearing heavily obscured or behind three-quarters cover, and you must be out of visible enemy line of sight. If you see a creature, you can discern whether it can see you. On a successful check, you have the invisible condition. I feel like I have to look up what
You
invisible
will.
condition says.
Yeah.
Make note of your check's total, with which becomes the DC for the creature to find you with a wisdom perception check. The condition ends on you immediately after the following occurs. You make a sound louder than a whisper. An enemy
Hmm.
finds you, or blah blah blah. So all that stuff. So
You
now
make an
let's check
attack
out.
roll or you cast a spell with a verbal component, which I love. No more. I try to whisper my spell. um,
So invisible condition. While invisible, you experience the following effects: concealed. You aren't affected by any effect that requires the target to be seen. And surprise, if you are invisible, when you roll initiative, you have advantage on the roll, which is super cool.
yeah, I like that.
And then attacks affected. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage, and your attack rolls have advantage, which is cool.
Hmm.
If a creature can somehow see you with a magical or blind sight rather, you do not gain this benefit. I mean, that sounds pretty cool to me.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Puck? How you doing, dude?
Oh,
Good to see you.
Puck.
I like this. I feel like it tries to incorporate already existing rules, but what Zeus is saying is on a successful check, you have the invisible condition. Make note of your check total, which becomes a DC for creature to find you with a perception check. What does find mean versus invisible? So, what I would say, let's take a look at some of the rules here. You have the invisible condition. So it says the condition ends on you immediately after an enemy finds you. And it says that you can be found with a perception check with the DC that was set when you tried to hide. I don't think it has to matter. I think that you don't have to look at invisible to deal to resolve those two things, because it's all in hide. Is you were invisible unless these things happened. They find you, and it lays out that they can find you with a perception check based on what you rolled as the DC. I don't think it has any bearing on invisible at all, because if they find you, you're no longer hidden, meaning you're no longer get that the advantages of being invisible. What I do like is that it specifically calls out hiding, that you have to be heavily obscured or behind three-quarters cover or total cover. So no longer I try to hide in the middle of the room kind of
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Unless there's hide and plain sight ability or something.
Yeah, if there's special abilities and stuff like that. But no, I do like that. I don't mind that one. I think instead of looking in 8 different places, you look in 2 places. It's a net gain for me. Yeah. There's an enemy finds you in the middle of the hide. So I see where you were going because invisible doesn't care about the find, but the hide does. So I think
Yeah.
that's an improvement. You still have to know what heavily obscured, three-quarters cover, total cover are, but those are different parts of the game anyway. Yeah, I don't mind this. I think that's a simplification and gives you explicit ways to sort of incorporate it in your game. I like that you have a straight DC when you're heavily obscured, behind three-quarters cover, or total cover. So DC 15, hey, I'm hiding, right? But then people can try and find you based on your role. That's kind of cool. I like that. Yeah, if you roll an ungodly stealth, then good luck. But the question is if you roll an ungodly stealth, you can do one thing and then you're back visible. Uh,
So let
and then
me
and then you have to go around a corner or behind a building or somewhere heavily obscured, which at that point your enemies are going to know what's happening and they're going to follow you.
yeah. So let me throw in a curveball here because true sight. It says a creature with true sight has enhanced vision with a specific range. Within that range, the creature's vision pierces through the following, and invisibility is under there.
Yeah,
So if you are hiding and someone has true sight and you're not hiding by magical means, then
yeah,
true
you're
sight
seeing.
still find you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
um yeah, I do see what you're saying though, is you could walk past an entire army with your score. I see what you're saying, but I think that some of that plays into the fantasy. So first off, if you're rolling a 25 plus stealth roll, you probably might be able to do that, right? You know, you think cinematically of going through tents or whatever, trying to get out of the way. Um, I think that kind of makes sense if you're rolling that high anyway.
I
Yeah,
guess it
I
depends
don't mind it.
on the DM style as well. Like if
Yeah.
you're trying to sneak past an entire army, maybe the DC is gonna be a lot higher, but because of the wording, your stealth check is the DC. But
Hmm.
does that mean the army gets bonuses because you're trying to sneak past an entire army? I don't know. I say that's a DM flavor call right there.
Also, I think skill checks, if you get a natural 20, then they automatically succeed. So I would roll 10,000 perception checks.
You know, if Frodo and Sam could hide through an army at the gates of Mordor and they rolled an incredible stealth, I say, why not?
Hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying there, but I think it simplifies it. But that is one caveat that might be an issue. They changed equipping weapons as well. When it comes to attacking, when you are equipping weapons, something that I just saw. So you may equip or unequip one weapon before or after each strike you make as part of this action. I think it's interesting. And equipping weapon includes drawing it from a sheath, picking it up, or retrieving it from a container. Picking it up it used to be a I think dropping it was a free object interaction and picking it up was, or something like that. I think they explicitly made it that way. I think it's more to help with new two weapon fighting, but it's just kind of a small change that I saw. They also removed all the weird jump and movement weirdo rules and stuff, which were convoluted and were silly. Um, and then unarmed strike was the last one I want to talk about as far as like the rules, conditions, and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I was just gonna bring that up. So
Yeah, go for it.
yeah, so now you can make an unarmed strike. Anyone can make an unarmed strike.
Hmm.
And then you can either choose to do damage, to grapple, or to shove. You get one of three options when you hit.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, damage is damage. You dealing damage, but or you can
Hmm.
choose to do a grapple check. So then you have to do a strength or dex check saving throw, and and then you do the grapple. Or yeah, or you can use the shove action. But it's all rolled into like one category now.
And what they changed in this specific PDF is grapple and shove are back to using um like your athletics, and those sort of things. They used to be attack rolls. So like grapple now, they must succeed on a dex or strength saving throw, or it has the grapple condition. And then the DC for it is 8 plus your strength mod plus your proficiency bonus. So
Yeah.
not athletics. It's actually kind of weird. I didn't
Yeah,
catch that earlier.
it's now like it feels like a
Maneuvers.
maneuvers, but like a spell attack
Yeah.
DC, but for melee, right? Because you're not rolling athletics or acrobatics anymore. You're fighting against a save.
hmm You're saying the unarmed strike in the UA were never attack rolls? Pretty sure they were in a previous UA. I don't want to go back and read previous UAs, as I'll confuse the hell out of myself. But I'm pretty sure it was either the expert or the one before that, you had an attack roll to grapple or something along those lines. I think it was in one of their little change blog here they added before that section. No, not PHP. Yeah,
So
so
hold on.
grappled,
Let's see
yeah.
what it says. An unarmed strike is a melee attack that involves you using your body to damage, grapple, or shove a target within 5 feet of you. Whenever you use your unarmed strike, choose one of the following options for its effects. So that phrase alone, it says it's an attack action. And once you hit, you can determine if you want to do damage, uh,
Yeah.
grapple, or shove.
I read the change log and it says unarmed strike, so grappling and shoving are no longer delivered by an attack roll anymore. So they changed those rules.
Okay.
So the damage one is the attack roll, grapple and shove have different rules. Which is fine, I guess. It still is weird that it doesn't incorporate your athletics or anything. It's like a saving throw now. But I digress. Those are all like the main rules things that I saw, that the small changes. I wanted to like highlight some of the familiar in the steed stuff though, because that was really cool. I don't know. You think we're done now? We talk about everything in the whole UA, right? That's it. That's the whole UA.
No, we still have we still so chat is asking we talk about druids.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
let's move on to druids. We got to make sure we have enough time to talk about
Let's
paladins,
do it.
unless we just save that for next time. But
I'm here
I
for
mean,
it.
well, let me since you're very excited, Max. What
Yes.
you why don't you go first because
I like the
I
direction they're going for Wild Shape.
I am the other camp.
I like the direction they're going for Wild Shape. I don't think they hit the mark in this UA, but I like what they're trying to do. I like
I
that they're
agree with
giving
you.
people. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but
No.
I agree with what you're saying, and I know what they're trying to attempt, but I'm in the not happy camp.
I like what they're trying to do. They're leaning on some of those like Tasha's summoning stat blocks, but for Wild Shape, there's not enough. Like Animal of the Land, Animal of the Sea, Animal of the Sky. Those aren't enough diversity for what is coming across here. So the main thing is you lose a lot of the utility that some of the wild shapes gave you, right? Like if I want to be sneaky, I want to do these things, or if I wanted to be a wolf to get like pack tactics, all this other stuff. I don't get that. I don't get that you just use your same hit points and like you have the same hit point pool. Like that's it, right?
Yeah,
You don't get knocked out of you don't get extra hit points. Seems weird. Maybe there's some reasoning why that they're doing that. I like that they changed wild shape uses to channel as a channel nature.
Channel nature. Yes,
That's cool because that opens up a lot of different possibilities for subclasses down the line. Um, I like that. The AC going off your wisdom modifier. Eh, I
but
mean,
whatevs.
most of the beasts didn't have a lot of AC, did they? That I can think of. That felt more like HP, like punching bags, more than
Yeah,
anything.
you're a a damage sponge rather than being something tanky. Because like if you were a bear, you didn't have it wasn't like crazy high XC. It was like 14,
hmm
if I recall. But yeah, you have a
Yeah, like
butt ton of
60
hit
hit points or
points.
something. Yeah. Here's the thing. Here's how to fix this. And I think And you all might roll your eyes because I say it all the fucking time, but here's how I would fix this. You've got your different wild shapes and your different forms. You have a system that everyone loves to use that was only used in one place. Do an invocation type system for your wild shape. At different levels, you can pick cool stuff to trade in and out for your wild shape. So you can have your wild shape power fantasy owlbear dreams, right? Let people pick the cool things they want to pick, but put a system in place to do it. Now, the
I
bad
know.
thing
Okay,
is that,
continue.
oh yeah, the bad thing is that it'd be weird because you can't, you pick once and that's what you get. But
Well, maybe not in the new system, right? In UA because you can now prepare your spells all the time.
yeah,
But
maybe.
like the cool thing, Druids get wild shape level 1. Like they don't have to wait. You get it
Hmm.
off the bat, right? The bad thing, or well, the second cool thing for flavor wise, you can make your beast look whatever the hell you want. Like
Yes.
if you want to be an owlbear, you can be an owlbear, but you're just not going to get all the cool. I mean, let's be honest, they weren't that much different than regular bears in fifth edition. So
Yep, we
if
talked
you
about
want to
that
look like
last time.
owlbear, you can look like an owlbear. But to me, you lose a lot of that flavor, right?
Yeah.
You lose pack tactics, you lose like whatever has like tremor sense, and you lose those like art not arbitrary, but you lose those special perks of being a specific animal. I understand the
Hmm.
reasoning for wanting to kind of homogenize and make it easier on the user end for those because for I don't in the video they claimed that druids were the least played class according to their data. I have no idea where they got that data from. If they're sorely sourcing that data from beyond D&D because in every not every I would say 92% of the campaigns I've played, there was always a druid. So I felt like maybe I'm not sure where they're getting their data. Um, but
Yeah.
it upsets me because I love playing druid,
Hmm.
specifically moon druids. Um, and you lose a lot of the utility and the flavor for not being able to pick a specific animal. But I understand why they want to. They want to make it
Yeah.
easier on the user side. Um,
In
and it's
invocations, but wild
nah,
shape flavored.
I'm on
Like,
board. Village is on board. I'm on board. I think
yeah,
they should do an invocation system for wild shape.
yeah. I think that would be great. And then you can pick and choose, you can swap in and out all those things so it can be as crunchy as you want to make it, or you can pick the same thing once and that's what you have forever. I think that'd be a really good compromise that I don't think they're gonna do. I don't think they're gonna do it. I'm gonna flat out and say it. They're not gonna do it. If they do, I'll be very surprised and I'll be very happy. Um, but I keep saying the invocations thinks it's a great system that they used once. But that's yeah. There's more problems, by the way. There's more problems. Like in in this, like you use the same constitution as your normal score. Your strength and dex turn
Yeah.
into your wisdom score. That's okay. Starting out, you're probably gonna have a 16 in your wisdom, I would assume. Um, it's only gonna go up from there, I guess.
Well, yeah,
Um,
because depending on your animal type, like if you're land, sea, or sky, your stat block changes, right? The only one that matters for strength and dex is land,
yeah, that's true.
and then I don't understand why con is not buffed for
Yeah,
land.
yeah,
And then for sea and sky, they're basically the same thing. But you only your dex is equal to your wisdom modifier.
yeah. I don't
Um,
know. I don't know why strength is use your score on animal of the sea because I don't think a shark should be using dexterity.
yeah, right. So
I don't.
that stuff doesn't make sense. And then I mean, you get flyby attack with air, which is kind of cool. You don't attack
Yeah,
opportunities. But everything else, all you get is multi attack, which is 2 attacks, which is
yeah.
there's nothing special
Yep. Yeah, the only
other
one that
than
gets multi attack is Animal of the Land. Oh, I guess you're right. Animal of the
oh
Sea does. No, they all do. Never
they
mind.
all do, yeah, because
They're in
they
different
are
places.
they iterative, they go up, so, like, you get land first, then you get sea, and then air or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was looking. The multi
Um,
attack is first on the other ones because you're already at the level that you can get it, but it's second on the other on the land. Yeah, and then they just give everything dark vision. Animal of the
yeah.
Land is 60 feet. Sea has 90. Sky has 120 feet. What's weird is the Animal of the Sky. The fly speed's only 40 feet. That's very strange to me.
Yeah, and then the descriptive there's a weird description in Wild Shape, because you can be up to you can do small, medium, or large, but you can
Hmm.
be a tiny elephant if you wanted to.
Sure, why
Which,
not?
sure, that's funny, but, like, that doesn't really do anything. Um,
Yeah, just flavoring.
I'm not a fan of the, subclass that they changed for the Circle of the Moon.
Hmm.
Like, it doesn't feel strong, or yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
why play a Moon Druid when you could just play a fighter?
So let's go through more druid stuff, and then we can talk about moon druid after that.
Okay.
I get that you want to put aquatic form and flying form on different levels, right? Um, One thing I want to say it's a plus is there's no more flavor text that becomes canon that druids won't wear metal armor. I didn't see that anywhere, which I think is a dumb line to include in the PHB because there are some DMs out there that die on that hill, which means you have to find armor not made of metal. It's silly. Um, One thing that I did like was their second level feature of Nature's Aid. That seems cool. Healing Companion, or sorry, the Healing Blossoms. Those are really awesome. It allows you as a magic action, which is basically taking your action to do the magic. You choose a point within 30 feet of yourself, and then in a 10-foot radius sphere around that, um, you roll a number of d4s equal to your wisdom modifier, and then you distribute the number of hit points to people that are inside that sphere. That's super cool. Some really nice healing utility. That's just part. It's just a class feature, um, and that
I'm gonna
uses your channel nature. By the way,
yes, which you
so
only
another
get 2 of
use. Yeah, at
at
first.
start at first, right? And then you recover 1 on a short rest, which I disagree with. I think you should get both channels back, like in current edition. They should
Hmm.
get both back because if they're forcing you, like, not everyone's gonna be Moon Druid, right? So not everyone's gonna wild shape, but they're giving you 3 things, but only 2 points at first, but you can only regain 1 of them on a short rest, but you get both on a long rest.
I I don't mind that, to be honest. I would like for adventurers to have more uses to take short rests. Even though it's not all of them. I don't know. I'm indifferent about that one because I haven't played as much Druid as you. The Wild Companion's cool.
Well, let's go
Um,
back to Healing Blossom real quick before we
Go
jump
ahead.
to Wild
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Companion.
Go ahead.
So that seems powerful early level,
Yeah.
but there is no mention of scaling.
It's
Yeah.
true.
And if you go through the whole UA for the Druid, there's like there's not it's like a high level 15 or something that you get during a wild shape, you get a free use of Healing Blossom. But at level 15, 44 ain't gonna mean shit. Like
It
the
scales off of your wisdom modifier, is what it scales off of.
yeah, so
So 44 or 5d4,
yeah, unless you're
depending.
like a low wisdom druid.
Yeah.
So at level 15, 44 like 1 to 5d4 is not very strong. So I'm curious why there's no mention of level scaling for these
Hmm.
abilities. But that's my comment.
I wonder if the scaling isn't necessarily in the level. It's just because it scales with your channel nature and that you can do it more times.
I guess, but it's still an
Hmm.
action, right?
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I agree. I agree with you there. So 5d4 maximum of 20 is not going to do a whole lot if you're level 15. It kind of goes
And
back to the potions or crap thing that we
yeah.
talked about in
Yeah.
in our campaign. Not to mention that you distribute those points to people inside the circle. They don't
Yeah.
all get it. It's you count them down.
You have to pick. So if everyone's low, then everyone's getting like 10 hit points maybe, which is
Hmm.
they're bleeding hit points at that point.
Yeah.
It's more effective to use a cast a healing spell rather than use this little healing blossoms magic action.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Zeus, and that scaling it off a proficiency bonus seems good. Um, I know that a lot of changes were made that I'll talk about later. That they changed it from proficiency bonus to like level of the class, so you can't do a one level dip into something to get it to scale up with you. But I think in this case, I mean, maybe scaling it off of the level like they did with Channel Nature and Channel Divinity, or what they changed that to,
Mhm.
um, would be good. That might be something that would need to be changed.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. It feels very min-maxy.
Mhm.
It's like you're forced. I mean, of course, you want to do well as your class with their primary stat, but it's forcing you to make sure that is the highest stat possible you can get.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I like the direction they're going with some of these things. They need a little bit of tweaking for sure. I like Wild Companion with
Um,
the Find Familiar changes.
yeah, I like it too. You kind of bring back that druid, like that old school druid where they had a familiar animal companion.
Yeah. You're locked into Fae though, as your familiar is the kicker on that
Yeah,
one, which I think makes sense.
that's okay. I mean, there could be flavor reason why they want it to be something else if like the DM's cool with it, but
Or different subclasses,
yeah.
potentially.
Yeah, you got a pet again, and then with the changes to find familiar, it can combat. It could do
Hmm.
things.
Use your reaction, do it. Um, what else here? Let's talk about the 11th level feature of Tiny Critter.
I am very. I got words.
Okay, I'll read it. You gain the ability to become a tiny creature. When you transform into a wild shaped form, you can make it tiny. If you do so, you can stay in that form no longer than 10 minutes, and the damage you deal in that form is halved.
10 minutes? Kidding me? No. The funnest things in D&D is being a tiny creature and doing cool shit, and you can only do it for 10 minutes. That's baloney.
Yeah, I think they swung the pendulum in the wrong direction here because it's interesting they added the damage you deal is halved, which okay, but
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah,
if you're a tiny creature, your whole thing is
you're not combat.
you're not there to do damage,
Yeah,
right? The 10 minutes thing seems like silly, right?
yeah.
I
Well, they
think
changed the form duration now, right? The hours of
yeah.
wild shaping, correct? Because before, I don't even know what it was before, to be honest. It was long enough for you not to care about, but you can stay in your form for the number of hours equal to half your druid level.
Mhm,
So if you're level 2, you can only wild shape for an hour. But like
mhm.
tiny has no bearing with that. It's just 10 minutes and it's the stupidest thing ever.
I think they missed the mark on why people want to be tiny creatures. I don't care if my tiny creature has multi attack or not. I don't care if my tiny creature
Exactly.
does damage.
Yes.
I almost feel like that instead of they should rethink of a different 11th level feature, and and this makes it so much crunchier, right?
Mhm.
But take that channel nature, take your nature's aid, and add a third thing about being a tiny creature for scouting purposes. Now, I've seen some people say that, well, Wild Companion covers what you want to do for a tiny creature anyway. Yeah, it does, but people want to be that tiny creature. They don't want their other creature to be their tiny creature that goes out and does things for them. I think that's an excellent candidate of adding another bullet point to Nature's Aid or whatever at second level and saying, hey, you can be this tiny thing. Maybe it has its own stat block that doesn't let you attack and it gives you stealth or something. I don't know. That might be really crunchy, but I don't think this 11th level feature is it. That's
Nope.
terrible. That's awful. Why? Why?
Yeah, especially for an 11th level feature. That's high. That's high level and you're only tiny for 10 minutes, which does
Yeah.
nothing for combat.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. 10 minutes is a long time in combat, but why do you want to be a tiny creature in combat?
Yeah, you're using it for, stealth missions or if you're
Yeah.
going to pretend to be a little bird while this conversation is going and then you turn into a big old bear when shit goes down.
Hmm.
It's just silly. I would just ignore the 10 minutes. You can do it for the half of your druid level duration.
Yeah. And Village is saying it goes back to their Marshall versus Caster. I'm sure they got enough rogues going, why can't a druid stealth better than me as a tiny beetle? Yeah, I get like rogues definitely should be expert classes and they have all the skills to do things, but they should not be the de facto I'm the best at stealth all day, every day, all the time. Because obviously you have things like wizards that can go invisible. And now rogues become invisible. So they're with wizards there. Let the druids do something with that, right?
Yeah.
Give them
There's
a stealth form. I don't know. What a tiny form. Do something different with that.
yeah, you can make a fighter with high dex and focus all your points and take expertise feat and stealth if you
Yeah.
wanted. So the level 13th one, I think is freaking awesome.
The 13th.
Yeah,
Go
the
for it.
alternating forms. You can now rapidly shift between wild shape form and your normal form. And if you're in wild shape form, you can switch to your normal form as a bonus action, and you can then switch back into that wild shape form within the next minute. And that as a bonus action, neither switching expends a use of wild shape. So I think that's super awesome. Like you could switch out of wild
Hmm.
shape combat form, cast whatever spell you need, if it's a concentration or if you need to heal, and then on your next turn, as a bonus action, you can swap right back and get back into action. So I think
That
that's
is super
super
cool.
cool. Super cool.
I agree with you on that point. Giving a little bit more utility of if you switch out, you're done.
Yeah.
That might mitigate some of the issue you were having with you only get one back on a short rest because now if you switch out, you don't just lose it.
Yeah.
You still have the full
That's true.
duration. I'll also point out you can now talk in wild shape.
You can.
You can now speak when you were in wild shape, and I think that that's cool and hilarious.
I think I'll leave that up to the player. It'd be cool. Yeah, you're a talking bear, which is awesome. Or if you want to maintain just making bear noises, that's cool too.
Yeah, yeah. I will also. There's one more thing I wanted to cover with that. Yeah, you can speak. Um, let's see. Where was the other portion of this that I was looking at? Um, oh, that's for the subclass. So yeah, I will rein that in. I was looking at a higher level feature though.
Mhm.
We can move on between alternating forms to uh let's see. Level 15, Wild Resurgence. So you can use Healing Blossom as part of the same use of Channel Nature as you're using your wild shape. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was mentioning earlier. I like
Hmm.
jump the gun, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool. You can use it as a little extra bonus. But again, if you're saying let's say you have 20 wisdom, you're only getting 5d4 healing at level
Yeah.
15, which is I guess it's kind of I mean, it's a freebie, so I guess
Yeah, at least
it's
it's
not
free,
it's
but
not that bad. It's a freebie, but
cool
again,
flavor.
yeah. But again, that not really too many hit points.
Hmm. 17th level, you can cast spells in any wild shape form. You can perform somatic and verbal components, and you don't need to provide material components if they're free. If the spell consumes a material component, you can't cast it in wild shape form. That's crazy. I mean, it's super high level, which
Yeah,
makes sense, but just casting spells in your beast form, that's super cool. I like that.
it is cool. I understand the if it needs material components, you can't do it, but that just makes more homework for the player.
Yeah, if it consumes the material component, you can't
Yeah.
do it. But if it's just needs a material component that doesn't get consumed, then you can do it, which is cool. Also leaves out the spells that require a component with value on it too.
Yeah. And then level 18, you're an arch druid, you're forever young.
Yeah,
Forever
it's I like the
young.
flavor of like slowing down aging. I think it's cool to use for NPCs that are super high level, but it almost never
Yeah.
comes up as a player. It's just interesting unless you're in a specific campaign where it does come up.
Yeah. And then they've added an epic boon at 20 now, so
Hmm.
when I first looked at this sheet and I saw that every 4 levels, except for you get one at 19 instead of 20, because at 20 you get the epic boon,
Yeah.
it said feat. I was like, "Oh my god, we're going back. We're getting feats every increments of levels." And then I read into it as like or stats. I was like, "Oh god damn it."
It's
That's
because ability score improvement is now a feat, so everything's a feat. So they did it. You get feats every time now. Boobs, good
yeah,
job.
that's
Except
not
one of them is stats.
not what I wanted. Damn you. Yeah, so I got preemptively excited, so I was sad to just give us more
Yeah.
options, baby.
To answer your question or your statement to address that village, Aarakocras and ghosts aging is lethal if you have a short lifespan. That's one of the very few times that it does matter, that aging might matter. I agree with you there. Other than that, but this is at level 18, so and monks get there super high level too. Like, who cares? Like, if you're level 18, a ghost doesn't mean shit to you anyway. So,
That's true. You're a ghost. Doesn't matter.
um,
You're dead. You're dead,
yeah. Other
son.
than that, it doesn't matter. Cool flavor though. I'm not trying to dig on it. I think it's cool, but it almost never comes up unless your DM wants it to come up. I feel like you want to get into the Moon Druid now, the Circle of
Yeah,
the Moon.
let's do it. It's very useless.
Okay, there's some things I like. Third
There are some
level
things I like, but then
combat
yeah,
wild shape. When you're in a
that one
wild
is
shape form,
yeah,
yeah, you can cast any spell you currently have prepared from the Abjuration School, provided the spell doesn't have a material component. Now I want to make a point here because I'm going to go look at all the Abjuration spells that are on the primal spell list, right?
yep,
So I'm going to skip cantrips there. Abjuration, cure wounds,
yep.
interesting. Healing word. Let's see here. Lesser restoration, pass without trace, protection from
Fresh.
poison, dispel magic. Interesting. Let's see, mass healing word, non-detection, protection from energy, and freedom of movement. And you can get
Yep.
higher level stuff.
Yeah,
Um, interesting.
which is super cool. That is amazing. That was like the first thing I read. I was like, oh man.
Hmm. I don't know. I mean, yeah, yeah, I agree. There's some other things that aren't abjuration that would be cool, but that in itself is cool. Um,
Now, do you get all these benefits? Like, you also get quick attack, which you can use unarmed
yes,
strike as a bonus action, and then you
you,
get swift transformation, which was like the normal thing.
yeah, you can use unarmed strike as a bonus action, which unarmed strike. We talked about that earlier of grappling, shoving, and it still scales off of strength too.
Yeah.
So I hope your wild shape isn't based off of dexterity for some reason.
Yeah. So you better be a landform, otherwise you're pooped out of luck.
That is
Um,
cool though. That it's an unarmed strike as a bonus action. I'm gonna look here and see though. Um, Oh, actually, it doesn't matter because when you're in wild shape, your spell attack modifier is what you use to hit, and it just matters with your damage. So yeah, if
mm,
it's still unarmed though. Like your strength and dex are going to be equal anyway because it's your wisdom score. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. It just scales off that.
uh, elemental wild shape, cool idea, but there's no extra damage, which I was hoping for. Like your physical damage is now converted into an elemental damage type of your choice, minus acid. So it's just oh no, it is acid. There you go. Acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. So I
Yeah,
mean, it's cool if you're fighting things that are vulnerable to a certain elemental type. But other than that, I don't. It doesn't seem that good to me.
yeah, you don't get the extra damage, but you gain resistance to that, and your strike can deal that damage instead of its normal type. So that's filling the gap of which a lot of other subclasses do at 6th level is making your strikes magical. So if you don't use magic weapons, that you can still keep up with everyone else. So I get why there. And I don't necessarily think they needed a damage boost there anyway, because the level before you're getting multi attack as well. I see what they're doing. I
That's
don't
true.
mind it. They're giving you resistances, which helps with survivability, which is going to be an issue anyway in wild shape now. And then changing the damage type will kind of help ensure that those creatures that will take half damage or resist, the normal damage types won't have that issue. So I get it. It's in line with a lot of other 6th level things. Specifically, like when I played an artificer that had its companion, the same thing it got at like level 6. So it seems power level to match some of those things.
But yeah, then at level 7. level 10, 10,
Level 10 is
level
now level
10.
10.
Level 10, you do get the elemental strike, so you do get that
Yeah.
bonus damage. Um,
So it gives
and
you an
then
extra D6 and
and
scales up with.
it does scale, which is like the only thing on the druid currently in the UA that scales, which is weird to me.
Yeah, based on level. Yeah. Interesting.
And then level 14, you get 1,000 forms, so you just have alter self all day, every
That's
day.
cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's you always have all yourself prepared and you can cast it without expending a spell slot. And it doesn't count against the number of spells you have prepared. So it's just forever in all ways. So that's kind of cool. I mean, it's high level at level 14, but it's nice. Yeah, I don't mind what they did there. Because there's some cool stuff in the beginning that people are overlooking with like the abjuration spells and the
Yeah.
quick attack, which means that at third level you are doing an unarmed strike. So you are adding your 1 plus your wisdom modifier to your damage. And then once you get fifth level, you have multi attack and then another one too. So you're doing 3 attacks at that point, which isn't bad.
No, it's
I don't
pretty
know.
solid for level 3.
Yeah, I see what you mean though with the elemental stuff. Is I get it mechanically, but it doesn't feel like a lot. It doesn't feel like you're getting a lot for being this subclass.
Yeah, because they removed in current edition, 5th edition, the elemental form, which was
Hmm.
a super wild shape.
Yeah,
And then, like, you could technically be all these things depending on what terrain type you pick and what elemental type you get, but you lose like the special abilities that those specific elementals gave you,
yeah, and
like
that's gonna go
moving
back
through
to
Earth.
my
Yeah,
add the invocations, and just like warlocks, you can say this invocation is you have to be a moon, circle of the moon druid to use this invocation. It'll just slot right in there. It's the puzzle piece you're looking for. But yeah, that's the I agree with what Zeus is saying
oh, you're right, Zeus.
the the main thing is you don't get that extra stack of hit points that you once did in wild shape. And I don't like that. I don't know what their reasoning was. Because at this point, if your AC scales off your wisdom, which is the max you're going to be able to get in any form, is 15, and your hit points scale off of what you have, it's just your normal hit points. Why would I go in melee? I'm a full caster. Why would you not sit back and just blast them? Right? Why would you?
Yeah, it's the Moon Druid seems really weak. I think I understand they wanted to get rid of the HP soak because druids are like, oh, I'm just gonna turn into the thing with the most hit points ever, and if I go down, I'm just gonna turn into it again, and then have like 3 different pools of hit points. I understand. I totally understand why they want to get rid of that, but
Give
now
them
Moon,
temp HP or something that
yeah,
scales.
Moon Druids seem very squish now,
Yeah. Hmm.
which is like the opposite of what you want from a Moon Druid.
Yeah. I don't like that. If your idea is like let them pick their own animal they get to turn into and have that power fantasy of I'm a owlbear now, but look, I still have like 30 hit points. That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me. It's not very. I would never go into melee like that because why would you? But yeah, I like the direction they could turn this around and go a really cool direction. I just don't know if they will.
Well, it's the power of the community, right? Because they
Yeah,
are looking for feedback, so it is extremely important that people play test these new, UAs and provide the feedback that they so desperately need.
I'm. Yeah,
Because if we're yeah, it's cool if we chat about it and poke holes and whatever and on this podcast or whatever and talk with chat, but it's very important to feedback is king. So if you want to make a difference, you gotta let them know. That's all I gotta say.
yeah, and I'm glad you said that. In a couple weeks, when this survey opens up, everyone who's pissed off, you better be filling out a survey because that's the only thing they're looking at for changes
Yes,
in these things. It's the
correct.
only thing they're looking at.
And trust me, I worked on early access game and feedback was king. Like without that feedback, our game wouldn't be where it is today. So do
Yeah.
it.
Um, Innate Meerkat, you've got a question. Kind of off topic. That's okay. We're being
Oh
informal.
yeah, we don't have enough time to go over the Paladin, so we can just
Oh no.
yeah, we talked basically about the new stuff and just went to town on Druids.
Oh, I want to talk about it.
I know, me too. I do want to. We can save it for
Um,
next week.
the spell Darkness says you can make an object or area the center of the effect. Would you say that if you casted Darkness on the arrow and then shot the enemy, would you say the Darkness still works? Absolutely. Of course, you'd have to have someone else cast Darkness on the arrow and then you shoot it because they're both actions, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah,
But then you're shooting at a disadvantage because you're inside the darkness, unless you have a magical means to see through darkness.
yes. Or you could have someone hold their action to cast Darkness on the arrow as you fire it, which is what I would do.
Can you do that?
You can hold your action to cast a spell.
Right as the arrow's being fired?
You can make the trigger whatever you want.
Cool.
Is Darkness, is it touch? Hold on, we're
Uh,
gonna see it.
I don't think or can it be touch?
We'll see it. Hold on, now I'm curious. Are you
It
gonna,
is a range, an
yeah,
area.
easy. I'm gonna like, hey, bro, I'm gonna fire this arrow. When it goes off, you cast that Darkness spell. Cool. And I would have the caster hold their action until the arrow is fired. And then I would have them cast it as the arrow is flying through the middle of the air, as long as it's within 60 feet. And then make it all badass, and the arrow hits them, and then they're shrouded in
Oh yeah,
darkness.
yeah.
Amazing.
If you point, if the point you choose is on an object you are holding or one that isn't being worn or carried, the darkness emanates from that
Mm.
object and
Oh, if
moves with
it's
it.
not worn. Yeah. So yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, so totally doable. Real
Man, I
cool,
have so
baby.
many notes on Paladin, but I mean, we're like an hour and a half in on our supposedly hour and a half hours, hour and a half ish show.
It's okay. That just gives us more time to like fully deep dive the paladin.
Mm-hmm. I I mean, I'm gonna be a Paladin fanboy, so there's some things that I
There's
really like.
there are some very cool things, yes.
But
Because
yeah,
my
see.
my top two classes are paladins and druids.
Oh, so this was your UA. They did this for
This is
you.
my UA. It is.
They did this all for you. So, with that being said, we're gonna have to wait until next week to talk about paladins and then answer some more questions. We may have another topic as well because I don't know if paladins will cover all that
Yeah.
amount.
So that just gives a great opportunity for people who are listening, people who are watching now, or who's going to watch
Mhm.
this later. Join the Casters and Cantrips discord.gg/casters and cantrips, or go to castersandcantrips.com and leave your questions in the server or in the comments of this video, and we'll bring them up next week.
Yep, right there in the chat or in the description if you are watching or listening at a later point. And oh man, I'm so excited to talk about paladins. We don't have time.
I know.
I have dozens of notes. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed that. I don't think the sky is falling when it comes to druids, but I think that they have some room to improve. And if any of you want to slip something in someone's ear, actually, when all of us fill out the survey, then that comes out in a couple weeks, you should say, "Hey, we should get choices for wild shapes like warlocks for invocations." Everybody
Yeah,
say that.
everyone do
Everybody
it.
say that because it'd be
Everybody do it.
amazing.
I'm on board. It sounds super cool because they I feel like they really I don't know if homogenize is the right word with wild shape, but it is very lackluster, and
Yeah,
we need to boost it.
yeah, agreed.
End it.
Yep.
The new thing I learned.
I will say that I am glad we talked about the other things first
I
because
agree.
just like we thought, Druid dominated the conversation. But there are some cool things in there. And
Yeah, don't worry, Nate. We're talking about paladins next week, and then questions that everyone has in chat or in the
mhm,
description, or if you want to post it in Discord or tag us on Twitter.
yeah, do all the things and we will respond.
Cantrips.com.
That's amazing. I need to record that. That'll happen every time someone loads the page. man. But anyway, uh, man, it's gonna be good. They can turn it around.
Yeah,
I
I'm
feel it.
hopeful. Feedback is king. Remember that, everybody. If you're just pooping on it and you're not gonna send feedback, then you're pooping alone.
That's right. And nobody likes poop alone. Okay, you heard it here first. Nobody likes poop alone. Oh man. All right. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. If you're unaware, this is a weekly show that we'll be doing on Mondays here at the 6 p.m. Pacific time. I hope you all enjoyed this. And then I will say, mark it on your calendars, Friday, 6 p.m., our next one shot, Castles and Cantrips, Hot Gnome Summer, DN'd
Yeah.
by me with a lot of really cool people. If you didn't see the announcement, and I'm going to talk about it because I can, and it's our show. We can do what we want. But yeah, Hot Gnome Summer with the DM as me. We've got Mac and Cheese is playing a character there. We've got Jism Crow who's playing a character who's also featured in Mac and Cheese's YouTube videos along with me sometimes. We've got Becca Godsey who has her own streaming channel who is also on D20 Deathmatch if you haven't seen that before. We also have Keston Howard as well as Corrine Sudberg who are both voice actors, amazing voice actors as well. So a lot of cool people. Gonna be a great cast. And I hope you all will enjoy what I have prepared for this Friday because I think it'll be cool. But
Yeah, I'm
anyway,
excited.
yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next time. See you Friday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.